to call the police. What? Are we live? Peter, are we live?
Hi, yes, we're live. This is Peter Hartman with Tom Hartman on Jumpstart Live. I was told that my colors were too exuberant, and so here I am, grayscale,
I like it better
monotone.
this way. This is much better.
Let's just jump into it. Hey there, everybody. How's it going? I want some color. Pizzazz! Pizzow! Pizzow! Today we're going to be continuing part 2 of It's Happening! Raoul Paul's The Next Big Thing. This is the
Dawn and Comprehension.
dawning
Return of the
comprehension
Exponential Age.
/ time wave 0 / fractal iteration / you better get in
Novelty
now
Theory / Singularity
/ don't miss the boat / get on that train / step on the gas. All right. That's enough, Tom. We have an hour. We have an hour video that we got, 11 minutes into?
Look, just because Raoul couldn't dish out the interest and if he was interesting, we would be captivated, okay? We have to bring the fire. Spitfire.
Spitfire. Hey, don't diss our dear leader, all right? Ever since you told me that he doesn't like to be considered that, I worship him now. He's my guru. He's my God. I bow down at the altar of Paul. And the Bible says not to have any gods before God. Well, sorry, God. We got a new contender in, all right? First I tried Lucifer. Now I'm trying Raoul Paul. Raoul Paul's way better for me than Lucifer ever was.
I did Ron Paul, and that didn't work, so now I'm going to Raoul Paul. I need to keep that RP thing going.
The RP? Yeah. All right. Let's jump into it. So we were if you haven't seen it, in our last broadcast, we started doing a kind of a watch along with Raoul Paul's part 2 of his exponential age video. Very fascinating. If you don't know about Real Vision, it's a financial, Tom, how do you describe Real Vision?
It's a financial media company that provides information on the plumbing, the undercurrents of the micro and macro economic field. So basically all the stuff that they never taught you in school, how to turn $1 into $2 and what people are doing on Wall Street and hedge funds and all that.
So while we were watching it, it's a very powerful video, very interesting, very insightful. And we had some thoughts about it and we thought, hey, let's jump on stream and let's talk about it. And Tom can help explain it a little bit along the way if you don't know much about what's going on. I mean, I know.
Well, hey, Peter turned black. Well, this is the Sacred Prophet Daily Show. Welcome to the Daily Vantage. Let's take that again. Welcome to the Daily Vantage, where we give you the vantage point.
No. This is Jumpstart Live. All right. So if you haven't watched part 1, definitely go and check that out, but not before you watch part 2. I don't know how that's going to work for you, but definitely don't leave this video. Watch it till the end. If you're going to watch it twice, you got to watch it twice. What I got to tell you? We could use the views. I'll tell you that. Hey, if you're watching this and you have any questions, comments, any concerns, if you think we're full of crap and we're terrible, some of the comments are like that. They're like, this is wrong. You guys are garbage. Not quite. That's how I feel when I read some of the comments, but it's pretty cool. But write them down below. I'm interested. I read them all. Even the spam ones. So definitely write them down below. But we're going to jump into talking about this. Looks like we're 12 minutes and 50 seconds in. Tom, if there's any parts here that you feel are, unnecessary, don't need explanation, is there a way we can fast forward through some of this? Because we got another 40 minutes to go. I'm thinking
the first part was really more explanation, and the next 4 parts are far more narrative focused. But right. Before we continue, did you want to switch sides on the screen on Restream? Here we go.
Hey, I kind of want to gray your background. Which one is better, Tom? Which one do you like? This one?
I'm going to kill you one day, Peter.
This one or this one?
All right.
All right, let's do this.
And somewhere doubles in relative valuation versus Bitcoin. I don't think the market quite expects that, but maybe that kind of short period of the flippening would be the end of the cycle when everybody punches the air, all the the Bitcoin guys get pissed off because, Ethereum's outperformed, and then we get a larger correction. But anyway, that's how I see it. And that's a lot of work that I've been writing Global Macro Investor, in Real Vision Pro for Macro Insiders, from speaking to people, understanding the structure from people like, the on-chain analysis from, Will Clement and Willy Woo and others, looking at the technical analysts that we've had on Real Vision, Crypto Sniper, all of these people getting a distillation from Plan B stock to flow. And so I'm forming a whole macro view around the space, the next kind of 6 to 9 months in the space, from all of these kind of conversations that are happening on Real Vision.
One of the interesting parts about your journey is that you're no longer just thinking about this in terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum. You're looking at DAOs, the metaverse, NFTs. Give us a little sense of that journey.
Yeah, this is a journey I'm hurtling down, and I'm trying to figure this out because this shit is moving fast and it's wildly complex. It's coming from small seeds of ideas that are exploding, and nobody knows where they're going either. But people are kind of contextualizing them.
So he's talking about this idea here that more than just Bitcoin, that's like a store of value, a transactional currency online, and Ethereum, which is a platform very akin to, let's say, the App Store, where there's apps created on it. There are other things happening in the crypto space, NFTs, where art is being monetized. You have DAOs, which are a different type of structure to a company that you normally used to, a decentralized company. There's these different entities that are popping up in this space, and it is so difficult to wrap your head around all the new things that are happening. Is this something I should pay attention to? Is this a scam? Is this something that's just been reskinned, or is this something that's brand new? So this is what he's trying to understand.
The first one that I've been trying to figure out is social tokens. That's something that Kevin Kelly, I asked him, because him and I share the same fascination. We think it's going to be literally the disruptor, the big mass market consumer adoption of everything, which right now is NFTs, but I think it's going to be social tokens. So I've asked Kevin to go and research into this, and I've also, been talking to all sorts of people to find out where this is going. And what is making me understand is that culture is becoming the investment. Yat Siu, on his interview, the chairman of Animoca, which was an unbelievable interview.
Let me just pause there for a second. Just to repeat that wonderful line, culture is becoming the investment. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Peter. Remember there was this a popular saying that Terence McKenna would have, where he would say, stop consuming the culture, create your own culture. Right? Stop sitting down and being zombied out in front of movies and TV. Stop reading books that were written over the last 5 years and binge reading, every Anne Rice book or whatever it is. Like, stop doing that. Culture is your operating system in your mind, and you need to develop your own culture. And for years, I always wondered what that meant, because that doesn't mean withdraw from the culture and don't participate. What he's saying is that you want to contribute to the culture as well, so that part of what's in there is yourself. And so anyone who's creative, entrepreneurs, all that stuff are adding to the culture. Well, not everyone has this grandiose way of thinking about it. Not everyone says that I want to be a significant contributor to my culture. That's not exactly how people go about doing things. So social tokens allow you to monetize the content you're already consuming, turning that into more of a relationship, a community relationship, like a real community, like a town, as opposed to they're becoming popular and they do ad spots and sponsorships so that they can convince some portion of the population to go and buy MeUndies using their code, right?
MeUndies. Sorry.
Well, we talk about how, like, in we watch all kinds of different media, and Ben Shapiro is one of those people where you're watching it, and he's making this very intense point about politics or the culture, and he said, "This is the downfall of America. Is at our doorstep, and Biden is there leading the charge." Back in a moment, we'll tell you how schools inside of blue districts are teaching critical race theory to their kids. But first, Helix mattress. Don't you care about your sleep? 1/3 of your life and blah 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 blah. And it's such this jarring thing. This jarring thing. Even
You
when
got to
when
do
we
it. You got to do it, right? You got to
you
pay
got
the
to do it in
bills.
order to make money. But it's even like at the end of our videos when you go, click like, subscribe, click the bell in order to be notified. These are all things that we're saying that because we've been trained by the algorithm that we need to do these things in order to get any type of visibility or traction.
The algorithm.
Exactly. But a community token allows for, let's say, people watching us to generate value from, so they buy into what we're doing or subscribe to what we're doing by having a token. What we do creates more people within our network who want to transact. We require that token to transact, and that token becomes more valuable in the same way that a currency does in a given population. So he's saying this is the revolution. Like, this is the big thing, because it allows Peter the creation of millions upon millions of new businesses, because you don't need to sell 10 million albums. You don't need to have 10 million followers. You could have 1,000 followers, and you could be an author, you can be an artist, you can be part of the commentariat, anything, and make money and generate value for the people. So I agree that social tokens are like one of the biggest revolutions, and the next step is where social media sort of meets cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
So for a while, people are wondering, like, for years, when I would watch millennials gather followers and likes and share counts and views on their TikToks and Instagrams and Facebooks and all that stuff on Twitter, and I was like, why are they spending so much energy doing this? Like, they are spending, and I used to think, oh, it's just a waste of time. They're being caught up in the dopamine surge. They just want the likes because the notification pops up and tells them that they're noticed. But that was a very simplistic way. That explains maybe 10-15% of the population doing that, in the same way that you might have a percentage of the population who are addicted to drugs because they want to feel good instantly. But that doesn't make a whole generation do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's all go do meth. So that's not what was happening. It wasn't a meth equivalent. Something else was occurring. What was occurring is that somehow people understood that this attention that they were getting, and that they could quantify somehow with this metric, whatever metrics that they cared about, somehow it was valuable. Somehow they knew it was valuable in some way. And sure, a lot of them monetize that by either sponsorships or partnerships or whatever, or they got jobs. They use it as a resume, as a portfolio item, and in order to get jobs at the company where they can get more regular pay. But now with cryptocurrency, imagine that like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff you're doing is actually generating money for the content creator and you as the holder of the token of that person. So now you working on behalf of the person, posting things on Reddit, getting other people inside the community, getting more people to listen to this album and song or whatever it is, actually makes you more money. That's unbelievable.
I always wondered, like, how, like, I watch MKBHD, who's a tech YouTuber, and I don't know how many, he has like 15 million subscribers or something. I listen to Dave 2D as 3 million. I was almost thinking, like, these guys have millions of subscribers. I mean, millions. Why does it look like they're struggling, or still, like, they still have to get you to like and subscribe? The merchandise, and we have a new T-shirt. It's like,
why aren't they billionaires?
Why aren't they millionaires upon millionaires?
Or billionaires? Like, why are they? How is it that an owner of a company?
Forget billionaires. Like, how the hell? Like, I always thought that MKBHD must be a multimillionaire. How do you have 15 million subscribers and not be a multimillionaire?
Well, I assume he is.
Well, I'm assuming he is, but some of the things he says and the way he behaves, I'm not 100% sure that he is. And now I hear him say like and subscribe in his videos. I'm like, geez, dude, you won. What do you mean like and subscribe? It sounds like Rachel Maddow watched this space. It's like, I'm watching. Like, where do you think I'm going to go? Your primetime news TV. What's your competition? Anyway, it kind of blew my mind to think all these channels with millions of subscribers, if a TV show gets millions of views, it's the biggest TV show you could possibly think of.
That's right.
If a TV show gets 1 million views, you're like, oh my God, this is a blockbuster. This is a mega hit. these YouTubers are getting like millions upon millions of views. Like, what the hell's going on? I saw it kind of in the music space where in the past you needed a record label in order to be able to get exposure, in order to make a living off doing it, and the pool of people who became successful musicians was small. Let's say singers, popular pop singers, whatever. Now there's got to be what, a million, 100x more singers that you've never heard of making a living, because now they can just produce content. If 1,000 people, if 5,000 people like their stuff, like, you'll never hear their names, but they'll to do this, they'll do more. But that's still, those 1,000 people still have to give them $30, $20, every month or whatever it is. But when it comes to this crypto thing, I get the impression that, instead of getting $20 from a single person, you can get a penny or a dollar or something from.
Well, actually, backtrack on that, because the people, they do want to give $20-$30 a month or whatever. They want to buy the album. They want to participate within that community. The issue has been, though, that once you put that money into a thing, you can't get that money back out, right? Unless you're selling some sort of collectible. The tickets you bought for the concert, the albums that you bought or whatever, that money is gone. And so this is sort of like barrier to entry, because if you have the sunk cost that you already put into something you liked, and it's sort of hard to jump on another bandwagon after, or you should have to like let that go. But here you get to put in that $30 a month that into this thing that you enjoy, and when you're done, you could withdraw all the money that you put in, and you get back more money, the same amount of money, or even more. That makes it so that your participation in what they're doing is literally an investment. Now, no one can make the excuse of, oh, you're just sitting there and watching YouTube video after YouTube video and you're just a brain dead. No, you can be part of that community, and you're watching it matters, right? So you might own some tokens that give you some community tokens that give you a right to vote. So there's a forum where the content creator actually is engaging with their top tier shareholders, let's say, and they have a vote. So you're watching, I would like more like this, and maybe you could try that, and you can direct the evolution of it. Maybe a musician says, okay, I'm gonna make songs specifically for one of my holders, or a few of my holders. They're gonna get to direct what the next type of song is, or what collaboration I'll do with someone else. Whereas you can't do that if someone is Britney Spears is managed by a label. Like, you have no say over what Britney Spears does. Britney Spears is on a conveyor belt from Mickey Mouse Club all the way to where they squeeze they're squeezing the rind of the fruit in order to get more juice. And then the next one's going to go through, and then you get Ariana Grande is going to go through, and Zendaya is going to go through, and they have this churn. You have no say in it.
Okay, there is. I love what you're saying, and I like the participation and the equity that you have in something. I always thought that the audience who are watching the performer are as important and significant as the performer themselves. It's a transactional relationship that always kind of felt this one way. Yes, you might go to the concert and meet a lover. Yes, you might enjoy the entertainment. So you did get something out of it, but it wasn't as direct as I always thought. The one thing that you say, and you've said it before, and it really bothers me when it comes to the creative field, is the voting and having the audience direct what's going on. I feel like if the audience directed the Peter Jackson to produce Lord of the Rings, we'd have a very different movie coming out. Like, when it comes to the creators, I like to see their vision, not a by popular demand vision, not curated by the audience. I don't want to hear the album.
That's just an option. You can have that too. Like, when
No, I know. I'm just saying that's the aspect that I'm worried about. And I see that when it comes to YouTube channels and videos, I don't get the sense that they're putting out the content that they want to put out. They're putting out the content that will get them clicks. And to me,
the reason they want those clicks is because they want to show that to the advertisers in order to get sponsors. But imagine they didn't have to get the sponsors for it, that the community was supporting them. Well, then those same metrics, which they would still want, they want to know what's more popular, what's not, what's getting more clicks, what's getting more views, when are people watching it, how many people do it, what are the demographics. You could still have that information, but then it would inform your decision of what you want to do. So it's nice to know It's sort of like focus groups for a product, or small sample sizes for polling in a given district. It just lets you know, what are people thinking. If I'm
Yeah, I
out
think
here and
that's
I'm trying to,
terrible.
right?
Focus
Well,
groups, I think, are terrible.
I could understand how some people would do that, and so there's all kinds of cryptocurrencies that don't have that governance aspect to it. But it's nice to know that you could have that governance aspect if you wanted to.
I told people one time, this was like a year or so ago, when I was exploring this idea of tokenization, which the way I understand it is you can kind of invest in individuals, right? So we talk about NFTs, which can be products and creations, but this idea that you can invest in a specific individual. And at dinner parties and stuff like that, I'd mention it, thinking, oh my God, this is exciting. Can you
Right.
think of the possibilities? And these people were like, oh my God, that sounds nightmarish, like you want to invest in someone. And so I said, you invest in someone, so now they're incentivized to eat healthy and to sleep well and to be productive. And they were like, that sounds monstrous, like now you're sitting on there. I have to behave properly. I have to behave in the way that I'm supposed to, or the people will stop investing in me. It sounded like a dystopian future. So I see it both ways. It's just that, and of course it is a double-edged sword. There will be pros and cons to the way this shakes out, but hopefully the power of numbers will make it so that, if you can't please this set of people, well, whatever you want to offer will still please another set of people. And options really is the way to make everything democratic, right? Having options, choosing which crowds you want to cater to.
Well, if there's if this trend continues, right, we might forecast a time where at the next fourth turning after we're gone, that one of the main problems, social problems they're going to want to deal with is this. Why do I have to have my behavior judged by a group? And how come the only way to move forward is to have a large, 1,000 people decide to buy my tokens, and we should have a different way? And yeah, well, that's a fight for another generation.
Talked about that this could create universal basic equity. So I've been talking in the past about, the ability to have digital identity can give us a chance of having universal basic income, because you can sell your data and identity to platforms that currently just harvest it for free. I think that's coming, but maybe it's not as big as universal basic equity, which means that communities that you're involved with, you have a token in, and if the community is vibrant, then the value of that token rises over time. So your cultural interests align with your investment interests, align with your business interests, align with all of your activities. We're seeing that with things like Chili's, which is still pretty nascent, and its tokenization of sports clubs. I mean, those tokens still aren't worth a lot of money, considering the fan base of, what does Man United have as a fan base? 1 billion people? And their token's probably worth 50 million. So it's really early days as people are trying to understand how these tokenized communities can work, and how do you actually add value, because they can't be a cash grab. It's got to be a participation. So, I've been going down that journey, understanding the music industry, the media industry, sports teams, all of these things, to try and understand, okay, what the hell is coming here? But what I understand is these people have communities that are gigantic. They have to rent their community back off Facebook, Google, and other things. They have no direct relationship with their customer. So if you think of a football club, the football club's direct relationship with the customer really is the 80,000 people who can come to a game on a Saturday. Even the t-shirt sales and stuff like that, they've kind of lost connection. So they have no real connection with these gigantic fan bases. But I think that brand is becoming a tangible asset as opposed to an intangible asset. And the tangibility is the fact that these social tokens and NFTs will reflect that. That's a gigantic change. So what is Man United's brand worth? And does it sit in equity or does it sit in community? I think a lot of it's going to sit in community. So that token to me should be worth a few billion. And that's where I think this is going. So maybe those tokens in the football clubs, if they tokenize in the right way and create the right experiences and create the right community, you can be a fan and make money from being a fan.
Yes.
And you'll be able to build businesses on these networks too. And that applies to musicians and even mega brands. fashion brands, particularly things that have cultural significance. So this is a really huge thing.
It's not just a huge thing, Raoul, it's a democratizing thing. The world that you're describing is one where the big platforms, the Facebooks of the world, become kind of middlemen who are set up to be disintermediated by the folks who actually own the direct relationships with their own community.
Yeah, but the war is not over. And this is where people need to understand where this is going. What we are creating is a digital sovereign states. Multiple.
Here we go.
Of different sizes. Mm-hmm. So we are fracturing the online world, and we'll talk about the metaverse and where this is all going later. We're fractionalizing communities into separate states. So complex adaptive societies, like human societies, organized religions, all of this stuff, generally have an organizing set of principles, a mission statement, leadership, and then a value of a method of value exchange, money, or things like in religion is like, if you do these things, you'll go to heaven. If you do these things, you'll go to hell, right? It's a value exchange. What tokenization has done is allowed every community to create a value exchange around these same principles. So you organize groups of humans. That's how all humans organize. It's as old as humans are. So, but the supercharging is the fact that you own a part of the network. Like, you don't own dollars. You have to, yes, you can earn more of them, but they don't have necessarily the same output. Maybe they do. I haven't really thought that through. But here, well, no, because the dollar can get printed. While here, you own a scarcer resource, which is a part of that network. And Facebook.
So just to clarify here, he's saying we organize ourselves in communities, right? So let's say where you're part of a country. There's a value proposition for being a citizen of that country, and a tool that's used as a medium of exchange. But you don't actually have equity in the country, right? The better the country does, you hope the better that you do, but you don't actually have a share in the company. You have a responsibility, you have a debt, you have to pay taxes and all that, but you have a share of it. But imagine you can have a share of the country you're in. So you have every incentive in the world to make sure you and all your compatriots have generate wealth. And in that way, it's something I've said before, that wealth is not abundance, having a lot of something. Wealth is the movement of money within a system, which generates prosperity, generates wealth, not abundance. And so once money moves around and value exchange happens in a system, that is the process that generates something that is valuable, right? Someone could be a musician, but if they don't produce something that a community would want to have, then it's not valuable. If only one person wants it, well, then it'll just be worth whatever that one person is willing to buy it. But if a billion people want this thing, well, all of a sudden that thing becomes worthwhile because there's a transactional nature that happens. The thing gets passed around, and people will sell it for a higher price, and all of a sudden this comic book for Spider-Man that was selling for 15 cents 40 years ago is now worth $1 million because of the transactional nature of a population, of a community. So he's saying that tokenization aspect, that fundamental basis of cryptocurrency, which is the blockchain being able to turn a digital thing into a unique asset, has revolutionary consequences like this, where communities online, which are very much like the communities that a citizen has in a country, those places, that digital space is now becoming a real space and can organize themselves as sovereign communities in the same way that a country can. So yes, the Facebook community with the cryptocurrency will be just like a country, Norway. It'll just be like the same thing because they'll have all the same power, if not more power, because they'll have a decentralized population.
What I want is to be able to buy into a digital state and get, public services from it, like healthcare
Exactly right.
or I have this vision. I actually wanted to create something for Happy for Change where you can be a happy citizen, and that but just by being a citizen and paying taxes to that state, not really state, but the Happy for a Change, that you would get benefits, that wherever you lived in the world, you could draw on these benefits somehow, whether it's resources, whether it's people, skills, whatever it is, that just by being a part of this digital state that you could get something for it. You could start small and then build up. So if you create a token or something that you can buy into, and then it's like, hey, wherever you are, you can go to the local center and use. One of the perks of this thing is that you're able to get medical care, you're able to get
Not even
education.
spending the token, just holding the token gives you access to the
Holding the token, yes, that's right. That way you can global citizenship can happen without the need for war or any type of
and you don't need to move
destabilization.
anywhere. You don't need
That's
to
right.
move anywhere, and every person who's part of that community is an ambassador for that community. They go, well, what are the rules you're following? What are the communities you? Well, this is what we have. So, oh, that's what you have. Oh man, maybe we want to tie into what you're doing, and then you
That's
have
right.
you have this daisy chain of value, and then these exchange rates between the different tokens in the community. But you're right. One of the things we've talked about for years is this idea of people being able to opt out of the rat race that they're in into a better life. And at one point, you were talking about even having land out in the middle of nowhere and building a community over there. But this allows for the building of a community right where people are, and that's who knows what that's going to look like. First turning, watch out.
My God.
Is doing a number of things, but it has the largest community on earth. It's a disparate community of communities that all of these brands are having to use. But if you unify them with Facebook DM, which is a stable coin, which is no different than El Salvador's currency board or the currency board here in the Cayman Islands, it's a stable coin, essentially, but for use on Facebook. So what have you created? You've created the largest sovereign state in the world with the largest number of people. And like all sovereign states, the US has got millions of different communities and groups and interests and blah, blah, blah. That's what Facebook is. It's a sovereign state. There is no surprise that Zuckerberg has seen the metaverse. That is the kind of power that they want in this equation. So the battle of who owns what state in the digital world is still to be fought. And it will be a multi-state world. But in the digital sovereign state world, you get the choice to move from one community to the other. And your token is the vote. I don't want to participate in Facebook's world. I'm going to sell my token and I'm going to move across to somebody else's world. I mean, this is democracy. It's also something really exciting to me. The world is wildly polarized right now.
It's better than
left and right. But I think what this is doing, and we'll come on to DAOs in a sec, and NFTs, because all part of this, is actually creating something that only exists in some places, which is it is progressive because it allows participation of everybody in a society. And it allows society to set rules, but it's also free market capitalism at the same time.
That's right.
It's like putting these two things together that are being fought over. You're a progressive, you're right wing. It's ridiculous. What this is a pragmatic, elegantly engineered solution to many of the issues the world faces. Now, that doesn't mean it's utopian. Because you can have cesspool communities, you can have communities you don't agree with, you can have, humans are humans. We all do this shit all day endlessly. We all divide and conquer, do all of this stuff. But basically, right now, you're in the United States, I'm in the Cayman Islands. We have to abide by the rules of society here. And society taxes us, and we do get taxed in the Cayman Islands, contrary to everybody's belief, but in different ways. They tax us for the good of society. Some people don't want that. Well, you don't have a choice to leave. Or if you do, it's a pain in the ass.
That's it.
In digital sovereign states, you will decide, do you want to benefit society because this community believes in benefiting society and others believe in a total anarcho-libertarianism? Fine, do it. But my guess is that we are going to coalesce around the ideas of we can look after society and have free markets. And that's kind of what Bitcoin has done, right? Bitcoin is a social token. If you think of it, if you ignore the narratives around store of value and everything else, because it's following Metcalfe's law, it's not following a store of value thing. Yes, the stock to flow does work in some respects. But what is Bitcoin? It's a group of communities that share a vision about hard money and some elements of economic and monetary freedom. There's also a group that share a belief in wealth distribution. And so what you've got is a bunch of beliefs that are on this network that everybody participates in, and it's a strong narrative. And so it does well. And should you decide, as I did, that I was getting uncomfortable with that community and society because they were not being accepting of people with broader views, I sell some of my Bitcoin tokens and move across to the Ethereum ecosystem where everybody uses the words GM for good morning and good night and everybody's lovely to you. It's like, that is sovereign freedom. This is a fascinating concept that I'm getting my head around. I don't think most people have figured out yet. And this is where DAOs and NFTs fit in. And again,
Before we get to that, so this to me, Peter, is like the thing I want Happy for a Change to focus on, the project we want to focus on. Create our own token, develop our own community, and find ways of providing value and opportunities for people to transact in such a way that it's not just a side thing that they're doing in order to watch our content and to get some extra money, that it literally provides an avenue for people to pop out of whatever they're doing and they get to participate in this new world. Like I want to found Rome. I want to be I want a new way for people to operate. So for years now, I've been thinking to myself, it's bothered me forever that Canada doesn't have a constitution. They love the American Constitution.
What do you mean? We have a
and
constitution?
we have the British North American Act of 1867. That's a default constitution that we had because we never came together and wrote one and ratified it by all the provinces and territories. And we just used whatever the Governor General was using in order to run the colony under the Queen. I mean,
So we do have a
we
constitution.
still have the Queen on our money. Like
So we do have a constitution. No, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
and I also thought to myself, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to be part of a process of, imagine you turn on the news and you're going out to vote and it's this conversation about, okay, what are the principles we want to have? We see constitutions that other countries have. What do we want? Let's learn from that. Let's build our own. Or do we want to be a country that it's a monolith country that focuses on generating productivity or comfort for our people or peacekeeping forces of the world? Or maybe we want to do a thing where each province are able to do their own experiments and their own laws in a local level in a republic type of way, and we get to see if Alberta does roads better than Quebec, and we trade information back and forth, or maybe we want to have a system that we completely upend the system every year. The Constitution is only valid for every 10 years, and every 10 years, every half a turning, we got to go in and change it again. Whatever, like that process, I thought the debates that we would have in the conversation, and it could really create a sense of patriotism that we've never really had in this country. It's like, oh, that'd be great. Now, when I hear of these social tokens in the crypto space, I go, forget that. Why am I going to be pushing mud around on the ground trying to make it look, make it look like a sandcastle? Let me build something. We can build something in a digital space that we don't have to convince local people specifically to care about it. The whole world is available, right? And we just have to have a value proposition and a way of people coming in and coming out that makes it so that that leads to these ends. Like the price of cryptocurrencies aren't going up because people are demanding that it goes up. it's going up because it's providing value to people. And it turns out when you provide value to people and a way of transacting, you generate wealth. That's what happens. So I'm just obsessed with that idea, Peter. Every day I'm looking for ways to generate our own crypto token in a way that's sustainable. Like the reason I haven't just created one on Ethereum or on Rally or whatever is because I don't think those are not the platforms I'd rather be on. But Cardano, got my eye on that. And the moment those tools are there, I'm going to jump on that and create our thing. But in the meantime, getting people together and gathering people to our cause so they know we have a short-term view of infotainment. We have a medium-term view that we want to generate a company and an organization that can change and change certain things and introduce new ideas and affect the conversations around us. But then ultimately, a new way of living that's not chained to your cubicle doing a job that you hate until you retire and have, what do they call it, 17 years of senior leisure until you die. Like, I want people to be opted out of that. I want our kids to have a world that, like, oh my God, Tom and Peter paved this type of thing forward, and now we get to we don't have to choose from a catalog of 3,000 jobs of what do you want to be when you grow up in some sort of divergent maze
Selection
runner
process.
Hunger Games sort of society. It's a different type of way, a different type of way of being. When I see myself as a part of the hero generation for Turning Style, I go, those are the systems I want to put into place.
And me, as the anti-hero, I will stop you from doing them just to provide you just enough resistance that you overcome. Yeah, it's very exciting to think about how these things can change the world. It's humbling to understand that there really is no way to predict what will necessarily occur. Right? There's a field of possibilities that we can explore, just like people explored the field of possibilities of the internet back in the 1970s, but could never have imagined what we have today. Which leads me to believe that whatever is going to get produced is going to be so astoundingly better than what we can imagine that it makes waiting for the future or looking forward to the future very exciting. When it comes to our token, I set forth the challenge for us, and I hope we can talk about this, not today, but privately. Like, what would we want our token to do? Like, instead of just waiting for the token for the platform that we want to be more mature, let's determine what we want for our token and appeal to people and be like, hey, we need people in order to get this token. And if we get enough people that will issue this token, here are the benefits that you'll get from being a citizen of Happy for Change. Not really a citizen, but having equity and Happy for Change. So I don't know actually how to find out what benefits can be provided in a token. Is it anything?
Well, what I have in mind is this idea that this DAO structure, where combined with the community token, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, but basically the idea that as people purchase our tokens, which holding the tokens gives you access to different tiers of our content in the same way we have on Patreon. That's like the surface level of it. But afterwards, what happens is that we use profits that we generate in order to purchase assets that increase in value over time, taking an advantage the interests and appreciation methods for making money. And then that generates wealth. It's a sort of like a wealth management done in a treasury of the company, and that a profit of that is folded back into the value of the token, and so the token goes up in a correlation with the assets that we're imagining as a company. But we're managing those assets not to as a backstop. So if people want to pull out their tokens, they remove part of the treasury that's there, but also the interest that's generated from that to make the company pursue its goals, so that our thing is not dependent on how many people we get to participate. It's not like we got to get the number as high as possible. It's that once we reach a sort of critical mass, we'll be unstoppable in order to reinvest those things in order to generate the ideas that we want. So the social token is as part of a access to our content, but also as a share of the profits of a decentralized company.
Makes sense.
idea really how to think about this stuff. Hence why I started interviewing people. And Kevin Kelly's been doing a bunch of that for me. But also I've been doing a bunch of NFT stuff because I can see that DAOs are basically a way of getting agreement amongst people on how things should be done in a kind of weirdly democratic way. Will it work fully? I have no fucking clue, but it's really interesting. As Jamie Burke mentioned to me, he's like, what is interesting here is this is like the world's biggest economic experiment in real time. There are literally thousands or tens of thousands of economic experiments about economic ecosystems all being run. Some collapse, some succeed. I mean, that's amazing because economics was a model-based thing. Now we're running experiments with real data and real money and seeing what survives and what doesn't. And DAOs will go through the same. What is going to work in that structure? I have no idea. But it's a way of organizing complex adaptive societies. The DAO is basically the set of rules by which the society will operate. I mean, this is big stuff, right?
What strikes me is just how comprehensive this view of the space is, talking about re-engineering not just organizations, but the nation state, society, social organization more broadly. It's a hard thing to get your head around. Where do you think this goes?
I don't know. But the more I reread The Fourth Turning, the more prophetic the bloody book is.
I got to read that.
It says that all institutions will get rebuilt from the ground up. We're rebuilding states, corporations, communities, money, store of value, economics, all at the same time, done by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, of the smartest people in the engineer, economists, finance guys, technologists, developers, mathematicians. Everybody is working on this. This is like, it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen, is mankind saying, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. And we will figure it out. And we don't know the answers. Everybody in the space, except the hardest core maximalists, said, we do not know the answers, but we're going to try our damnedest to see how far we can get. I love this. This is how it should be. This is one of the greatest movements I've ever seen, if not the greatest movement, because it's political, it's economic, it's financial, it's cultural, it's everything, all rolled into one damn thing. And the market's splitting, the guys who are interested in DAOs and what we can do with that, the social tokens, the communities, the protocols, the DeFi guys, and we'll come on to some of these more, the layer ones, the transaction people, and everybody's going, right, we're going to solve this one. And we might fail, but those guys might learn something from us and they'll take the baton. But we're all sprinting as fast as we damn well can to create this opportunity. And this asset class is unstoppable because of its distributed nature of intelligence. The network effect of that power of intelligence and the sheer number of doggedly determined people doing things is unprecedented. We saw it with open source software. We saw it with the internet. But this has the powerful incentives built in that if you are a participant, you're not owning the equity in a company, you're owning a stake in the network, which never has happened before. So it is of a different order of magnitude. And still, I still people struggling to get across the line with Bitcoin or whatever it is, when actually we're hurtling into something much bigger. The other thing that made me think about this was NFTs. We've all seen the rise of NFTs. We all understand part of it's memes, part of it is communities, part of it's social identifiers, part of it's social identity. And I got that, and it's impossible to navigate. Right? Unless you're on Discord all day, I physically don't have the time. You know, I'm watching the Real Vision Bot guys. They're developing stuff, so I'm learning from them because they're too.
Real Vision Bot is a algorithm that combs through all the content on Real Vision to suggest what would be a perfect portfolio, and the bot outperforms, I think, the market. Like it does better by grabbing the information literally from transcripts, from videos, and whatever, can figure out this should be a portfolio allocation, and it beats hedge funds and money managers and the stock market.
We're all NPCs now.
Lots of people on NFTs, again, Yatsu gave me some great feedback, and there's a whole bunch of people. I've been speaking to people like Bill Tye about this as well. NFTs are a cultural phenomena where people are organizing around these groups of like-minded people. And the NFT is the identifier. Some of it I don't quite like yet, because I think to be a CryptoPunk, it's now an elitist group, because you can't fractionalize these things. You can if you put them in a different structure, but basically you can't fractionalize a CryptoPunk, so you own it outright. So you're basically saying, I've spent $3.5 million on my JPEG, and therefore I'm one of this crowd, right? That's the same as me wearing a Cartier watch, saying, I can afford a fancy watch. I kind of don't think it's the right thing for the space, but I don't care. Who am I to judge, right? This is what people want to do. I buy social identifiers all the time. Everything we all do. My house is a social identifier. I mean, we're humans, right? This is what we do. So I don't really have a problem, but it's interesting. But I'm seeing really interesting stuff when we spoke to Gary Vee. He's trying to build a media company from the ground up, as is Aston Kushner, as is Mika Johnson. That was a fantastic underwatched interview with Mika Johnson about what Mika's doing with Aku, which is incredible. He's basically NFTing from the ground up a cartoon. So it's built on the blockchain and it turns into a whole media property. And he's already got TV rights or film rights for it.
I should say this is on Crypto Voxels, and it's available right now for anyone who wants to go take a look.
Yeah, and just search for it in Crypto Voxels, but we'll make it more available to everybody. We'll give you a tab on the page. You can go and kick around our headquarters because it's kind of fun. But so these NFTs, there's many things happening with them. And what is interesting is there's some real projects like Loot, of which it's kind of really vague on what it is. But what they're doing is kind of building a movement of people around these DAOs and these things. And then that guy, and I'm not sure it's like Punk 9526 or whatever, Anonymous. I kind of know a bit about who he is, not who he is. And he's a very serious guy. And he started writing these incredible long threads about the social importance of what this is, this cultural movement, how, because NFTs can't be thought of as securities, and they're probably protected under freedom of speech, and they're immutable and they're on the blockchain, they become something extremely precious in this world, the thing that we've all lost, our own digital self. And I'm starting to explore what this all means too, because it's bigger than I know that I'm yet understanding and that most people are understanding. And it's very early phase. I'm sure that we will have a NFT winter and a bunch of this stuff goes to zero. But a bunch of stuff won't.
All right, let's leave it there. Very exciting. So that's the idea of DAOs and NFTs. I also find NFTs to be, I own like a few NFTs. It's like for a video game that I would want to play anyway. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to buy an NFT, then I'm buying it in the game. But I am not out there trying to figure out which JPEG is worth more than another JPEG. I've tried. I spent weeks doing it. I cannot. I mean, it's one thing to figure out what would I want to spend $20 on. It's another thing to be like, what would I want to spend $100,000 on? That's not even in the realm of possibility. So, and how could you ever recommend someone go, I can't afford this $100,000 NFT, but you might want to do it because it's great for a community. So it's not for us. It's not for our people.
But it's look. Last night, like at 5 o'clock this morning, I'm online on Reddit in the MacBook Pro group, just because I like to torture myself with not having the computers that I want. Enjoy it vicariously, and they took away the touch bar. The touch bar is no longer on the
great. I hate
Apple
change.
laptops. Well, there's a lot of people, like most people that I've seen online, are like, "Good, great, get this is garbage, this is useless, blah blah blah." And I did a poll. I enumerated the usefulness that I had. Surprisingly, got a good number of likes, but I had some real use for it. And I thought, okay, you might not like the touch bar, but that technology, what it's providing, the potential of it is so amazing that the solution can't be to get rid of the touch bar. Like that can't be the solution to a crappy touch bar. It has to be a better one. It's just like NFTs. It's like, oh, what's going on in NFT space? Well, I don't care what's happening in the NFT space. I care about the nature of what an NFT is and what it could become. So right now, all right, $100,000 for this, or a lot of money for this, a lot of money for that. But in the future, what this technology is going to allow us to do is going to be really incredible, and we shouldn't be like, oh, just like Raoul, he's like, it's not, I don't understand it, but he can accept what it can evolve into.
Yeah, I mean, when I see NFTs in video games, I go, that's a no-brainer. Instead of just buying something, coins in a video game to spend on a game that I might not play again. Oh, that I could buy something in the game, and then it's an item that even after I'm done with the game, I could transfer it. I might be able to transfer it from game to game to game, depending on if they support it, or it might turn into a piece of art that shows up on my wall, like some sword that I killed some dragon that took me 45 hours to kill the dragon. I get to hang it on my wall in a digital space, either in augmented reality or a video screen or whatever, and that someone else might want to buy on a market because that sword has now this history tied to it. Yeah, that I like those NFTs. When those roll around, I'm totally on board. But I also like NFTs like identifier. So imagine in our Happy for a Change group that early adopters, the people who come in first, yeah, you can have this many tokens and it gives you access to this content. But periodically, we can issue a type of NFT token, which is like a badge, that shows that you are an early adopter, and you can trade your 50 happy tokens for this NFT, which counts as the 50 tokens. It gives you access just like everything else does, but it has this extra value that it's like, this personalized thing that we created or whatever, and to our community, there's an extra value to it. So now later on, as you have it, it's a social status thing that you can display, where you can't just display your 50 tokens that you have. And when you sell it later on, well, instead of getting 50 tokens for it, maybe you can get 1,000, because now there's the time aspect, right? The tokens don't give you this time aspect. If I buy a Bitcoin today, or I bought a Bitcoin in 2013, it's the same Bitcoin. But if I bought this token to be part of this group, and this token has embedded within it how long it's been around, that it is part, for sure, is part of this, tier 1 early days. It was one of the only 10 out there, limited edition, blah blah blah. Well, then that to me is something that's exciting. That's an NFT that I would buy. I would be proud to own.
Something else that you might be proud to own, liking the how do I transition from this? Like this video if you liked it.
before you wrap up, I would actually think that the NFT might be something that we create before the social token.
Well, you talked about a charged NFT, and I like the idea of that one too.
Yeah, I mean, we have another video about that. The idea that you can have NFTs that have embedded within it, let's say, a savings. Like, so you have this NFT, and let's say we put in $1,000 on that NFT, and that $1,000 is generating interest, 15% interest per year. So that whoever owns that NFT regularly, they could press a button, and all the interest that's been accumulated goes into their wallet, and they have that money, right? Or you can not take the interest, let it build up, and then when you sell it, you go, not only are you going to get this NFT at you're going to pay a premium, but you know that when you press on this, all this accumulated interest, and there's $1,000 at the base of it. Well, people might pay a ton of money for that, and that's and then you can even have NFTs nested within other NFTs, like Daisy Chain Down, which opens up a whole other Pandora's box of possibility. So yeah, the possibilities are really just limited by the technology and our imagination, but the iterations that are happening now, Peter, I mean, a year ago, you imagine we would have a conversation like this? A year ago.
Well, I mean, we had these conversations, but they were, fringe around the edges. They didn't have the substance. Now that we're seeing the activity in the space and hearing visionaries talking about it, it's becoming more and more concrete in my mind, and the excitement level is just bananas. It's like I have never been more impatient for the future. I mean, I've always wanted the future. I always thought, okay, whenever I die, there'll always be a lot more ahead of me that I can see on the horizon, but I won't be able to participate in. Now it's like the future is all around me, like I'm in it, but there's so much that I can't. It's like finding a favorite author, and you're like, "Oh, really? This is a great series. Oh yeah, it's 100 books." You're like, "How the heck am I going to read 100 books? There's a lot to mine here. There's so much in this space that's so exciting that I can't wait for it." But Happy for Change is about experimenting with these ideas. Happy for Change is all about giving our attention to great ideas and the power of attention and that you matter. So we have at least we have a direction, right? We have a compass, we have a guiding light, a guiding principle that's going to help us to navigate this space, because there's a lot of things in the NFT or whatever in the crypto world that I just don't care about. But these things that allow us to empower individuals, that allow us to create more effectively, that allow us to free ourselves, make it more efficient and more effective, those things I'm very excited about. And I'm impatient, Tom. I'll tell you this. Every day I wake up and I go, is this the day we're going to be able to get our token? Is this the day we're going to be able to do something? Luckily, we have ways to move forward that make it so that we don't have to depend on these structures just yet. But if you like what we're talking about here, if you want to get in on this and play this game with us, definitely stay tuned to Happy for a Change. Remember to like and subscribe. You see how I got there, Tom? Like and subscribe, and share this video and hit that little bell so that you know when we go live, because we go live, and we're going to go live again for part 3. I guess we got with this, right?
Yeah, we have another half of the video to watch.
If you like what we're doing, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/happy for a change. If you don't have any money, you don't want to spend any money, you don't want to do that, subscribing to our channel really does help. And leave us a comment to let us know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, where we should go from here. It helps to contextualize our opinions, and we can provide you something more to your liking. We don't have a token that you can vote with yet, but you can vote by just like making yourself known down in the comments down below. Really appreciate that. Tom, anything else to say?
No, the only thing that's painful to me now is that it feels like the pace of development is moving faster than we're able to educate people on. So, this morning, I sold. I had one of these crypto tokens that I bought last year. That was imagine the BitTorrent for video processing. So you can people can take excess space. GPU and CPU space on the computer allocated to this network, and as they allow people to process video on their computer in a decentralized way, so people get more processing power than they would normally if they only went to one service or used their own computer, you generate this token. And I was like, oh, I love that idea, and there was nothing else like it. So I was like, okay, this is great. So I bought it, and a small amount, and it went up 5 times, 500%. So today I did what I tell everybody else. I sold, took my principal out, took double my principal out, left the 3/5 in, and now I just get to watch it ride. And to me, just like it was just sitting there, and then boom, within 3 weeks, it's 5 times higher than it was before. And and just to be able to explain to people what it is or even how to get in. Like, just that is a few hours of conversation at least. And that's if the person sitting next to me and I could hold their hands and go, no, be careful. You almost expose your private information online to all the people who can jump on your throat. So it's like, there's so many things to do. Like 1,000 things I could just rattle off the top of my head right now that you could participate in the space in. And we're just trying to get people over the hill of maybe crypto was something they should pay attention to. Like, I want to move. I'm so impatient. I want to move forward. I want there to be a lot more that we're doing for people, but look, we're doing what we can.
I like the idea that we've talked about this before, I think on air and off air, where especially in the Cardano space, you're vocal, you participate, that we want to kind of guide them towards reproducing things that people already use today, the YouTubes, Fiverr, Facebook, reproducing that in the Cardano ecosystem, so that to sell people on it is easier. It's like, what is this? Well, it's the crypto of YouTube. It's the crypto of Fiverr, and that way you don't have to teach people this whole new way of thinking. It's the same thing that they would do, but now they're doing it in this new space. So maybe doing that more and getting people to get in those projects created.
Imagine you're on Fiverr and it gives you an option, or a Fiverr equivalent. It gives you an option. You can get paid $100 for your services. You could agree to $100 for services, or 50 ADA. And you're like, okay. And then when you get to the end of the project, it turns out that if you choose 50 ADA, that 50 ADA is worth more than the $100 that you would have had. So people are gonna be, oh, of course I should, oh, the only way to get it is to sign up and get the wallet and participate. People go, well, okay, it's worth it because literally it's extra money sitting right there,
Yeah.
and that's the sort
It's
of
like
thing I
the
want to see happen.
It's like the Honey application. I'm sure you've used this,
Right.
where you install this Chrome or the extension, and you're shopping, and then you can get money back. You get rebates on whatever you're doing. It finds the best discount code for whatever you're shopping with. Well, it takes a little effort to go, and I've told this to people who've never installed an extension before in their life. You got to go into Chrome and install the extension, and then it runs on the page and blah blah blah. But once the cash incentive is there, yeah,
Right.
I've saved hundreds of dollars. I've saved hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars
Thousands
using
of
Honey. Then it's like, well, yeah, I'll go through the extra effort. I transitioned over to Brave, Tom. I use Brave, and
I use
one of
Brave
the
all the
reasons
time.
I use it because the ads that it shows me, I opt into them. I can choose the frequency, and I get paid to use Brave. Now it's a small amount. These days, it's getting to be higher and higher because the bat cryptocurrency is going up, and it's like, oh, okay, I got another $30 just because I use this Brave browser. That's exactly what we're talking about here. It's like, you use a browser, oh, I'm just a user. No, you using the browser is a contribution to the ecosystem. You watching those ads is valuable, and by using the Brave browser, I get a tiny little piece. Okay, it's a little fraction here, it's a fraction there, but
And you're already giving your data away using the other browsers. Like, you're already doing it.
Already doing it. And so, yes, for the longest time, I had a few dollars worth of of BAT in my account, BAT in my account, and then now that crypto's going up, that amount is going up. Now I'm not looking at extra ads. It's the tokens that I had that now are worth more because the value of the network is worth more, and that's just me using the Brave browser. I can't imagine. Can you imagine? You have a Canon camera, right? And the camera is connected in some way. I'm just imagining this. It's connected some way to an ecosystem that every time you take pictures or whatever you do with the camera generates data for the company to create this camera to make a better camera. So you get paid every time you use your camera to take pictures or take videos.
Exactly.
Like, I anyway, it's just
It never ends.
absolutely
The
incredible. It never
possibilities
ends.
never end.
Never ends. It almost seems like there are too many possibilities. You know what I mean? Like, it seems too vast, too big. Like,
And they're happening. Like, you're like, oh, that's crazy. If we were to Google that right now, you'd probably see someone in the forum going, okay, I'm putting a team together to do exactly that. Like, that's what's so crazy. You're like, I didn't know there's a decentralized video processing unit thing. I saw that as a side thing on Real Vision. I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. It wasn't one of those ripping things and people are talking about it everywhere and it's a Dogecoin or whatever. It wasn't that. It's just, oh, I like this idea. I want to be part of that idea. And now I paid my rent on it. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Well, that's it for us, folks. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We're going to continue with part 3 later on this week. So remember to subscribe, like, and hit that little bell so that we know when we go live. My name is Peter Hartman.
I'm Tom Hartman.
And you're watching Jumpstart Live.
Live.
Take care, everyone.
See ya.